Life speaks, and it has a language all its own. It speaks through struggles and success, music and messages, the preconceived and the unexpected. Whether you are in the depths of the valley or in the midst of your mountaintop experience, everyone needs to be encouraged. This is Andrea L. Hines, and I am so excited that you chose to join me tonight for a little kingdom conversation, because we want to make sure that you get something you may need and that you are ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome to When Life Speaks. This is your host, Andrea L. Hines, and I am so happy that you have joined us on the broadcast tonight. And I have my co-host with me this evening, Miss Audra Lynette Hines.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. We're glad that you're here tonight, Audra Lynette.
Okay.
She never quite knows what I'm getting ready to say. But I am happy she's with me. And I'm happy that you're with me tonight as well, and that we can give you some words of encouragement to help you along your week and help you along your life's journey, as a matter of fact. And I want to be sure that I remind you of something. I don't want to go too far into the broadcast without doing it. Be sure that you send me an email to speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That is speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. And all you have to do is put in the email the word free, F-R-E-E. And your name will be automatically entered into some drawings that we're going to have. They're going to be books, they're going to be products, some things that I think you will really, really like. And so be sure that you do that. I'm telling you up front because I did not want to forget. So Audra, how's it been going? Did you have a good week so far this week?
Yes, I did. I've had a good week. It's been kind of busy trying to prepare for future events coming up, but it's been good. It's been really good. Busy sometimes is a good thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Not too busy.
Okay.
But staying busy is a good thing. It's a good thing. And I've had a good week, and I was thinking about the show tonight and trying to figure out exactly what we would be talking about in our kingdom conversation. And a lot of things went through my mind, especially since we're just finishing Independence Day and the 4th of July, the holiday, and all of that. And I was giving some thought to freedom, the freedoms that we have, the freedoms that we enjoy every day that we sometimes take for granted. Mm-hmm. And I remembered a poem that I had written a long time ago, and I pulled it out because it kind of followed, or I should say that once I started reading it, there was something that came to my mind that I wanted to be sure that I shared with the listeners tonight, because I think it really, it's just 4 words, but they're 4 important words that I think we need to remember. But the poem went like this: have you ever met people, no matter what, the good is all they can find? It has nothing to do with the things they've acquired. They've just learned how to free their mind. There are many prisons, some with walls, some without. There's confinement of every kind, but you can be free of what's keeping you bound if you remember to free your mind. You can be bound by old sentiments, bound by fear, bound by relationships too. Are you bound by old habits, bound by opinions that others expressed about you? Whatever you are, whatever you've done, whatever you think you might be, you'd be amazed at how much can be changed as soon as you get your mind free.
And that is true. We really do. It's the clutter, I think, sometimes in our mind that we keep rehearsing or reliving, or I don't know, not what is that I'm looking for? Yeah, more rehearsing, more rehearsing. I think sometimes when we rehearse the situation, our mind isn't free. And if your mind isn't free, then you're not free.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind is what keeps you bound. As long as we can relay, or when you reiterate the same situation that somebody did to you 15 years ago, word for word, verbatim, then you haven't let it go and you're not free.
Right.
It's the same thing with bad relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't let it go and you're not free, because every person that you meet cannot be like the last person that you met.
Oh,
Not
yes.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything cannot be that way. And I think sometimes we have to take inventory of those things that are weighing us down and keeping us bound, and let them go. As we would say, woosah. Have a woosah moment and let it go.
Mm-hmm. How do we do that inventory, though, Lynn? How do we work that inventory so that we are really looking at the weighty things? Because sometimes you can kind of go through your Rolodex or your index. Nobody knows about a Rolodex anymore, but go through
your contacts.
Go through your contacts. And through those contacts, you sometimes it's difficult to determine what the good, the bad, and the ugly. I guess it's a way to do it. How do we really sort through those things and get to the point where we can let something go? You know what I'm saying?
I think the first thing that you need to do with that inventory is be real. Let's just be real. And sometimes and I know sometimes we don't really want to share, or depending on what the issue is, but I find freedom in writing.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with a journal, because I can be totally and completely honest in my writing, in my journal, regardless of what the situation may be. I'm the one that needs to be set free. It's not for anybody else's eyes. I'm not trying to write a story for it to be published. But that's how I feel that you can break free, because sometimes we aren't truly free from anything when we don't want to be honest. And sometimes being honest also means taking ownership for the part you played, and stop trying to make it the part somebody else played. So I think the one way somebody can work on being free is first being honest, and start a journal. Start a journal. And sometimes you will think about things that you forgot about long time ago that are like chains that are really weighing you down. Like the anchor. An anchor is heavy in order to keep a ship afloat and not move. So if we think about those things and take inventory of what's weighing us down, and use those things as anchors, once we begin to release and free those things, we can be just like that ship and really sail to where we need to go. But it's hard to go anywhere when you're bound and anchored.
Yes, that's really true. And I know when I was writing this, I was thinking to myself, one of the things that I really was bound a lot by was opinions of other people. Sometimes we spend so much time trying to be, trying to be what we think somebody else wants us to be, particularly when it comes to relationships. Because if relationships are not going well, a lot of times we stand back and say, what did I do? It's not that self-assessment is a bad thing,
Right.
but sometimes it does keep you from being honest. It
Right.
does keep you from really looking at what the situation is. It reminds me of the person that that will break up, will break up, and then they spend time calling the person, texting the person, looking for the person
to find out what they did wrong.
Not just to find out what they did wrong, but making the statement, all I need them to do is tell me they don't want to be bothered. And you're like, well, the fact that they didn't respond is telling you that they don't want to be bothered, But we try to do what that person wants. Our mind starts going, what did they really need from me? Maybe I can do that. Maybe if I change my hair, maybe if I was a little quieter, maybe if I was a little more outgoing, maybe if I, and it all comes back to what people have said, what people's opinion happens to be. If and not just what their opinions happen to be, but how often you look for them. Because I finally wrote a little piece that said, if you stopped asking everybody else, you could hear God answer. Because a lot of times that's what we do, especially if we're unclear or unsure or don't have the confidence to move forward. There are many, many times that you will be stopped and pause at making a critical destiny decision because of someone else's opinion. And a lot of times their opinion is not based on what is really happening with you as much as it has to do with what they want for you.
But here's my thing about opinion. I think sometimes we give the other person too much weight in their opinion.
Their opinion, absolutely.
And I think sometimes we value the opinion of a person that we esteem to be great. And there's nothing wrong with looking at somebody and thinking, okay, that's where I want to be, that's where I want to go, or moving in that direction. But that opinion should not be such an idol kind of worship thing, where their opinion dictates to you where you go next, or where you move, or what you do. There are times that, sometimes you want somebody's weigh in. There's a difference between a weigh in and an opinion. And we also have to realize that that's really just all it is, their opinion. Doesn't make it fact, doesn't necessarily mean that it's, the end all or be all to whatever is happening. But everybody's entitled to an opinion. Doesn't mean that you have to carry that entitlement to your heart and think that, have that opinion.
That's right.
That's right. Or, you have to pump your brakes or slow down or go in the direction that they say you should be going into, because their opinion may not necessarily be, just like you said, the course God has designed for you. That's just their opinion. And the only opinion we really should lay weight to is his.
And his is the guide, should be the guiding direction. But I find also sometimes when we ask for an opinion, we're asking it of someone that we are pretty sure is going to give us the answer that we want. And it still goes back to being true, being honest, and being in that place. Because if I am simply going to ask you, and people will ask a lot of times until they get the answer that they want. So they might, and I've had people come to me and say, what is your opinion about this, that, and the other? Well, my first thing is, and they will say, well, I asked my cousin, or I asked my friend, or I went to my other mentor, or, and this is a litany of people, this long list of people that I went to, I asked. And my question then became, okay, you've asked all these people, when did you ask God? Oh, well, I did. I asked God. And what did God say? Well, God said ABC. So my question then becomes, so why are you here?
Still asking.
Why were you continuing to ask? Why are you continuing to seek opinions? Because God has already told you. And much sometimes it's just that we don't like the answer that he gives us.
Or sometimes we really want somebody to tell us no.
Hmm. Tell
So,
me some more about that.
sometimes I think we ask the opinion because we want somebody to tell us that no, you're not, no, don't do that, that's crazy. Or no, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Or mm, maybe not right now. But again, I think it's like you said, I think we take the question, get an opinion from the first person, take that opinion, didact the information they need from that, and put it with theirs. Then they'll go with another person. And now the opinion that you're looking for is not even the opinion you started with, because you've changed your story so many different
Change the
times because
direction.
you've changed based on the influence or the opinion given from somebody else. But if you're not, and to me, for me personally, I'm not going to say that I don't really ask people their opinion. I tend to go by what I know. And then they might ask me, so what made you do that? And to me, if I know why I did it, then I can stand flat footed and say, this is why I did it. And they might ask me, and I'm saying they because the person who usually does that is sitting across from me.
What?
She may ask me, because she doesn't understand sometimes, and she is the host. My mother may ask me, so why would you do it that way? And I may sometimes say that's what I felt like doing, and sometimes she will question me, but I don't always give her the answer because to me it's what I wanted to do, and I don't necessarily always feel that I need to give all of the details. I'm a little different when it comes to the opinion thing. I don't usually try to ask a lot of opinion because I think sometimes people, when they view you at a certain way or a certain light or a certain place, tend to give their opinion based on how they view you,
Right.
not necessarily who you are, but
Right.
how they view you.
Mm-hmm.
So if I know that you are viewing me from a place that I know that's not where I am, I don't necessarily really need your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and then you have to be careful. We always think that we are getting the best advice from our friends and our loved ones. And I know if we were on television or had a live studio audience, I know I could ask the question, how many of you out there asked your friend for their opinion and realized they gave you an advice only because they were jealous of where you were going?
Oh my. Mm.
How many people would honestly raise their hand? Because it's when you begin to move outside of the norm that you
Mm-hmm.
have to be so careful of the opinion, because then you really begin to find out who people really are.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
kind of goes back to what you were saying, that opinion should really only come from one person and his alone. And yes, sometimes what he may instruct you on, that sometimes we may go, okay, what do you think about this? Because sometimes the instructions that he gives is not necessarily something you can physically see.
Oh, right.
So I'm sure when the Lord told Noah to build the ark and he gave him the instructions, I don't think there was no place in the Bible where he went and asked his family members and said, this is what God said I should do. What you think?
Mm-hmm.
How
Mm-hmm.
should we make that? You think that's going to be the right size wood?
Mm-hmm.
They'd never heard of rain. He moved
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what anybody else thought, what anybody else may have said, or what their opinion was.
Mm-hmm.
He moved.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes moving in that, you gonna look a little crazy, but when you know that you know, there's nothing that can shake you from that.
And a lot of times too, I think, and I don't think there's anything wrong with opinions. And you kind of said it in something you said earlier. It's about where the opinion is coming from. I think it is a wonderful thing to seek wise counsel, but it has got to be wise counsel.
And who would you consider wise counsel? Do you have somebody that you consider to be wise counsel?
Do I
Yeah,
personally? Yes, I do.
Okay. Other than God?
Okay. Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have more than one person?
I do. And one is a pastor, and the other is a friend. A friend in every sense of the word, because it is someone who's not going to tell me what I want to hear. She's not only not going to tell me what I want to hear, but will stop me in my tracks. Right. If she hears me just babbling and going off in a direction that makes no sense at all. But even with her, one of her first things is to say, did you seek his face? And sometimes she'll give me an answer, and sometimes she won't say anything at all. And she will simply say, let's pray. I will pray with you, and let's see what God says after we had prayed. But I've also been at that point when I did not have the relationship with him that I have now, where I was so full of doubt that the opinions of other people would shake me and shape me. And that really wasn't what I needed, and it kept me from doing a lot of things, because that when those things are out of whack, then you get into doubt, and you get into fear, and you get into all of those other things that keep you bound and hold you hostage, and don't allow you to move forward into what God intends for you to do.
I think there's two things that you mentioned that I think is so key. First of all, when I asked you who, you gave me two people. You didn't give me a list. You gave me two, which clearly states we don't need the opinions of a lot. Right. You just need to make sure that the opinion of the person or persons that you have weight and character.
Right. Exactly.
Weight and character. That's one thing. And the second thing that I found very interesting that you said was that when you mentioned the fact that the opinions of others, when you were not in a place of really knowing Christ, left you shaken and shaped you. And I think that is key to the listeners who are out there, that they need to understand and know that when your mind isn't free, or when that you are so heavily relying on the opinions of others, how much that shapes you, and how much that shaping of you will become so distorted from who God said that you are, because he's the master builder. He's the one that really forms the clay. So when you are out of shape, you're uncomfortable. Like a car, you're not in alignment. You're always self-doubting. You are very critical of yourself. And not only when you become critical of yourself and you become opinionated, you become critical of others.
Yes.
And that's a trap you don't want to fall into, is when you become critical of others because you were so critical of yourself.
And also, I think sometimes we become critical of others because we are frustrated with where we are.
Right.
If we think that we have missed the mark in some way, if we think that the prayer hasn't been answered, if we think we went after something and it didn't happen for us the way we thought it would happen for us, and we start becoming frustrated, then we begin to be frustrated with everything around us. And it comes across in our conversation, it comes across in the things that we enter into after that, it comes across in the things that we rehearse, like you were saying, that we keep going over things, and it doesn't really, not that, I'm not going to say that it doesn't really matter, but we put so much weight there, that our vision becomes skewed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The things that we would automatically look at and be able to celebrate
Mm-hmm.
when you're frustrated
Mm-hmm.
is difficult to do.
Mm-hmm. And what about those times when you develop the opinion of somebody who seems to be further along than you are? Let's say they have a dream, a desire, a passion, and so do you. Maybe not the same dream, but you both have a dream and a desire. And you're looking at them on the outside, thinking they are moving so far ahead and you can't understand why and what they're doing. And so you come to your own conclusion and your own opinion of what's going on with them. When reality is sometimes we don't, not even sometimes, most of the time, we have no idea what they went through prior to get to that. We don't know the sacrifices. We don't know the things they've had to deal without. We don't know a lot of the behind the scenes
Right.
stuff.
Right.
But we will draw a conclusion and an opinion about something based on what we see on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
So and you got to be careful that your opinion also isn't becoming judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
We can't become judgy. And why is it that we can't celebrate? I don't know why I went there with that. That's not what we're talking about at all. So let's get back on topic because that's not it. That's a whole nother subject.
Well, we
on
shifted
another
we
day.
shifted topic a long time ago, but
I think the thing we're talking about freeing our mind, but it seems like the one thing that is standing out is opinion. I mean, you've listed, you
Mm-hmm.
read other things, but it seems to be the thing that must be the more weighty is the opinion. Because even when you mention the bad relationship, it's the opinion of how we think they perceived us as to why it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we want the person to tell us why it didn't work out, but we really don't want to know why it didn't work out.
Well, then don't want to tell us either because they're busy telling us it's not you,
it's me. Oh my gosh. Is everything me? But no, I think I have to go back because I've had people that'll ask me, I need your opinion on something. And as I state, I know a lot of people out there who are listening to you really don't know me. I am cut from a different cloth. I am truly, truly different. And I'm okay with that because I'm a little too honest for people. And a lot of times people say they want honesty, but no, they really don't.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they want the honesty. It's like, what is that? I love pecan. I think they're called praline pecans.
Mm-hmm.
I love pecans. I really do. But it's something about that sugar coating on top of that crunch. I'd rather you sugarcoat it before you give it to me hard.
Mm.
And I think that's the way some people want it. I want you to give me the truth, but can you give me just a little bit of cinnamon, just a little bit of sugar? What's that from Mary Poppins? Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. And I'm just not that way. And I'm not that way, and I don't want to be that way because I really don't want anybody to be that way with me.
Mm-hmm.
If I am out of line and I am out of order, call me on the carpet. Don't sugarcoat that mess. And I don't do well with subliminals.
Right,
I don't do well
right.
with subliminal message. Come at me and tell me, baby,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're wrong with that. Don't tell me now. Do you think you should have? Yeah, I thought I should have did that. That's why I did it. So that's not how I am. But I do believe that sometimes people want the truth, but they don't necessarily want the honest truth. But that honest truth also goes back to being real with what those issues are that you're dealing with in your mind. And a lot of times when we get through that self-discovery, that's like pulling back layers.
Yes.
That's pulling back layers. Yes. And a lot of times we don't want to deal with the layers. We don't want to take that compact for women. It's a compact for men. It'll be a mirror. But sometimes we don't want to look at ourselves in the face, and do that whole face-to-face discovery thing of go, you didn't do that right. And a lot of times we will never be free till we handle and deal with the issues.
That's right. You have to
You,
be able to confront. You can't get over anything that you can't confront. You've got to see it. You've got to see it for what it is, and you've got to. It takes that self discovery. It
mm-hmm,
takes that mirror. It takes looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly. And
right.
you were talking about celebrating.
Mm-hmm,
And I know that when you mentioned it, you were talking about it in terms of celebrating each other.
right.
Uh, but I find it even more important to celebrate yourself,
Yes.
because we can't even take a compliment. It's
Mm-hmm,
difficult for somebody to come up to us and say, "Gee, I love your
mm-hmm,
hair. Oh, it's not the color that I really wanted."
right.
Or
The clothes.
I like the
This whole
dress.
thing.
This whole thing. I really like that on you. Oh, it's not hanging right in the back,
Mm-hmm.
and
And I picked
we
up
all,
weight or
yeah,
something. Just
we always seem to have something negative to say about ourselves, as opposed to being able to celebrate what has happened, celebrate what has life has given you, what God has done for you. It is okay to do that. Sometimes we think, well, I have to be humble and I don't want to, make too much
mm-hmm.
out. No, it's a good thing. I'm happy about it. It happened to me. God did it
Yes.
for me, and I'm grateful that He
Mm-hmm.
did it for me, and I'm looking for Him to do
Right.
something else
Mm-hmm.
because He promised it. He's a big God.
Mm-hmm.
He said He would, and I know that He will. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus.
Right. Right.
And there should be nothing wrong
Mm-hmm.
with that.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow we make it wrong.
Yep. We
Now
make it wrong.
I'm looking here, and I'm looking at my notes and everything, and I'm thinking to myself, none of
Is
this
what we decided.
none of this
Nope.
has anything to do really with what I actually came to tell you tonight. But I guess it fits somehow within the flow. I said in the beginning that there were four words.
Mm-hmm.
Four words. And here are the four words. You can make it.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the four words. I don't care what the old sentiment is. I don't care what the fear is. I don't care whatever it is that you need to let go of. And we hold on to things for any number of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's an insecurity. Sometimes it's just that we don't have the confidence to let it go because, it's that hallway thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not where I was,
Oh
but
God.
I'm not quite where I want to be, and I'm in this hallway now, and I don't know which way to go, and there's an amount of fear that comes
Mm-hmm.
with that, and I know God has not given me the spirit of fear. However, if I let go of this and try for that, I just don't know what's going to happen. Well, guess what? You can make it.
Yep.
If you let go, you can make it.
Mm-hmm.
God is always there. He's going to be the bridge. He's going to be exactly what you need. And if you are seeking His face, and if you are looking to walk in the path that He has set, regardless of how uncomfortable it may be,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the fact that there is no opinion from anybody that seems to agree with the fact that you are hearing from God,
Right. Mm-hmm.
you are listening to Him, and you are moving in His direction. With all of that coming into play, you still got to know you can make it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
can get it, you can have it, you can do it, whatever it happens to be, because number one, we always said God is greater than.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, before the foundation of the world, He knew exactly the path that He
Right.
wanted you to take. He knew exactly where He wanted you to end up, and He knew
Mm-hmm.
who you were going to encounter along the way. He knew all of that. So why would I sit back and think that because trouble comes, because things have happened that I wasn't expecting, because I've had a twinkling in an eye experience,
Mm-hmm.
that He's gone anywhere? He hasn't gone anywhere. He is still right there. He is still right in the midst of it. And as long as He is,
Mm-hmm.
you can make it.
Mm-hmm.
You can get past whatever's holding you hostage.
Mm-hmm.
You can get free in your mind. You can get free to do and be exactly what He created you.
Mm-hmm.
You. Not somebody's opinion of you, but you.
Mm-hmm.
What He created you to be.
Stay focused.
Stay focused.
Stay focused. It's your race.
Yes.
And the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong,
Mhm.
but to the one who endures to the end. I know sometimes what is that saying that they always say God will open a window. But first you got to come through the door and God will open up a window, but nobody ever told you there would be hell in the hallway. But you have to go through it to get to it. And you have to remember that. And sometimes we get stuck in the middle, but if you keep moving forward, even if you look back, you must realize that what is behind you is so further out than you realize, that it is easier to keep moving forward than it would be to go back. And if you had to go through hurdles, potholes, climb over trees, go through the bush, go into what's that when they're in the military and they dig the ditch, whatever they call that. If you had to go through all of that to be where you are now, seriously, do you want to go back through those same processes? Because you're going to have to go back through the ditch, climb back over the hurdle, climb back over the speed bump, go around the tree. Who wants to go through all of that when you've already conquered it? Why go back? Keep going forward. Keep going forward and knowing that as long as you are moving forward, you're going to get to the end.
You said something too about going through it, and I remember my very first guest that I had on the CEO of the Woe Network, Darlene Mingo, when I asked her what was it that she wanted to leave with the listeners, and she said, don't just go through it, but grow through it.
Right.
And that is exactly what you're saying. Don't take that process for granted.
Right.
Keep moving. Know that it is a part of what you need, a part of God's plan for you. And the other thing, when you're talking about stay focused, you said when you look behind you, and that's the thing that you've got to remember. It is in fact behind you.
Leave it
and
there.
I always say the past, P-A-S-T, has passed, P-A-S-S-E-D.
It has an
The
expiration.
past has passed. It is over. It is done. We don't want to revisit. We don't want to pick it up again. If God has shut the door, we don't want to be there at the handle trying to open it again, knocking on it, going, hello. No, it's done. It's over. It's closed. There's a reason, and we thank God for it. And I know so many times I look at things, even with this, I look at things and I think about how God will sometimes bring you full circle. A lot of people may not know it, but years ago when you were a little tiny girl, I went.
That's inside.
Look.
Okay.
Look. What did we just say about? What did we just say about celebrating ourselves? So we know it doesn't have anything to do with size because we are celebrating ourselves. But I remember that I went to broadcasting school. And I had a job, and I went on my interview, and I did everything that I was supposed to do, and the job was mine, but I didn't take it, and I didn't take it because I was afraid. I was afraid to step out. I was afraid to move to a city where I didn't know anyone. I was afraid who was going to take care of my daughter. How was my daddy going to call me every day? Just things like that. But I also know when I look at that, when I look then and I look now, I didn't have a relationship with Christ then. I had church then, but I didn't have a relationship with Christ then. And he has brought me around now and given me the same platform that I could have had then. I may not have been ready for it then. Right. But if this is his plan, his plan will come to pass. So whatever happens, whatever is going on, just know that if you stay focused, if you keep your eyes on him, if you remember that you can make it, you will have the freedom that you need to be all that he intended for you to be.
Yep.
What do you think? You agree?
I agree.
Well, listeners, we've got agreement from my co-host, so I guess that is all we need for right now. We're going to take a quick break, though, and we are going to come right back. And when we do, we've got a scripture for you. Hang in there. Well, we have certainly had a full night tonight.
Yes, it has been full and complete.
Yeah. Lynn, is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap up this evening?
Yes, if I could just give a plug for a couple of events
Sure.
that I have coming up. Let me see, August 11th. Lunch with the Ladies will be hosting a bangle event, making our own bangles.
Oh.
On September 22nd, Lunch with the Ladies will be hosting Andrea L. Hines and When Life Speaks.
Oh,
and
right.
October 6th, we as being an Elegant Encounter, Lunch with the Ladies will be hosting or doing our very first live recording, Love, Family, and Relationships. And that will be
Wow.
Saturday, October 6th.
Great, great. Well, God is really blessing, and that's why this part of the program is my favorite, because this is where we get to tell God thank you. I never want to close without saying how grateful for all He is doing in our lives. Yes, our lives, not just mine, but each of yours as well. And Lynn, before we took a break the last time, I heard you begin to give a scripture, and I think it's in Jeremiah.
Yes, ma'am. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future.
And one of my favorites is Matthew 6:34 in the Message Bible. Now, verse 33 talks about seek ye first the kingdom, but 34 says, give your entire attention to what God is doing right now. And that's that focus you were talking about. And don't get worked up on what may or may not be tomorrow. God will help you deal with whatever hard things come when the time comes. Well, He's given us wonderful nuggets to share, and He's given us His word to share as well. And Father God, we thank you. Thank you for loving us so much. You let us do this for your glory.
Here I am, down on my knees again, surrendering all, surrendering all, and find me here, Lord, as you draw me near. I'm desperate for you. I'm desperate for you. I surrender. Drench my soul, His mercy and grace.
Well, remember everyone, topics, shout-outs, want some free stuff? Email me at speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. You can check out Lynn and An Elegant Encounter for some relaxing, encouraging, and thought-provoking events. And we'll be bringing you those details as soon as the dates get closer. So that's it, and that's all for tonight at least. We hope you've enjoyed the broadcast. I've enjoyed having Lynn as my co-host. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
And we've certainly enjoyed having you, and we look forward to doing it again next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. So like us, share, and invite someone to join the journey so when life speaks, you'll speak life. Good night, everybody.
Good night.